Kia ora koutou, welcome. I'm Anne-Marie Case-Miller and welcome to our Smash Round the Kitchen Table online event. Firstly, I'd like to say a huge thank you to our Smash sponsors, Dairy NZ, FMG, Balance, Pioneer and Rabobank. We value their support, and without it, our events, both online and on farm, wouldn't be possible. Of course, we have still got our planning in underway for our field day event, and our next one was scheduled in the Waikato on Jamie Holtane's farm for November the 2nd. That has been postponed due to COVID levels till November the 16th. So make sure you check out our website, smallerherds.co.nz, and under the events tab, all the details are there. We certainly hope we'll see you there in person on November the 16th. But today we're round the kitchen table. I hope you've got your coffee. We're joining Wade Bell and Andrew Macky. They're going to discuss current farm conditions and summer planning with a focus on the key stock and feed decisions. They're going to use Andrew's farm as an example. Now, he milks 320 cows, but there's going to be lots of take-home messages for other farmers as well. A little bit about Wade. If you don't know him, don't know where you've been. He's an independent farm consultant in the Waikato. He's been doing that for the last 2 years. Prior to that, he was a Dairy NZ regional manager. And of course, he's a very active Smash committee and trust member. Now, this is one of his final gigs with Ag 360 because on Monday, he's starting with Pioneer, which is super exciting. And we know he's going to knock it out of the park. Waikato farmer Andrew Macky lives on farm at Patarangi, which is 5 minutes north of Te Awamutu, with his wife Holly and their 2 small children, William, almost 3, and Frankie, who's 1, full on at their house. And he's the manager on farm there. It's his 4th season on the farm. Before that, he dairy farmed in the UK, he drove combines in the USA, and he went shepherding for a couple of years after uni, where he received his diploma in farm management from Lincoln. He's also very active on social media. You might have seen him on Insta or YouTube. His handle is Once a Day Farmer, so make sure you check him out. Wade and Andrew are happy to answer any questions you've got, so just write them in the comments section on Facebook or sign into YouTube to do so. And with that, Wade, Andrew, it's all yours.
Cool, thanks, Anne-Marie. That's quite the intro. I guess Andy and I have got a bit to live up to, now, but I'm sure we'll fly through this pretty well. So thanks for that. I always think a good way to start is to get a bit of an overview of the farm, the situation that you're operating within there, Andy, and it gives people that are tuning in a bit of a feel for where you are, how you farm, what your system is. So do you want to just share a little bit about the background to not only yourself but the farm that you're on, and help us understand that a little bit more?
Yeah, sweet as. So it's what are we? We're 100 hectares. I think we own 96 and lease a couple. And it is, it's got a mix of sort of peaty soils and also sort of the higher country is more that ashy soils which dries out in the summer. And I suppose you can see in the video now, it's not the flattest farm around. There's a little bit of contour, but we're pretty ideally located pretty close to Te Awamutu, which is handy.
Yep. And in terms of the farm system, so we're getting some good imagery there. So the farm system, how do you run that? How's the farm run?
So we would be about a system 2. We're not real high input. And it sort of suits our once a day farming system, I guess. Yep.
Yeah, and how do you run that? So you're a family kind of setup in terms of, do you have staff?
Yeah.
How do you run the herds? How does all that work?
Right. So it's a family farm. We've had it in the family for 100 odd years or something. So my parents own it, and Dad works on farm. I sort of manage, and it's just us 2 on farm here. It runs pretty well, or it works, I guess. But we run 2 herds. So our shed is a 16 aside, which is pretty small for 300 cows. But in my herd, I milk 11 rows, he milks 9. And we sort of have different herds. So I took or I got the idea from England when I was working over there, sort of having a high producing and a lower producing herd. So in my herd, I have 175 cows, and I feed them maize and PK throughout the year. And they sort of are down on the flats, down on the sort of P-tier country, which holds on a little bit longer in the summer. And then his herd, we keep all the younger cows and sort of maybe some of the older ones too, which aren't producing quite so well. And they are on a sort of grass and chicory diet. They don't get any maize or PK. And yeah, that country dries out a little bit quicker than it does down here. So yeah, we feed them chicory through the summer to sort of combat that.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you work that? Because I have heard that theory before around the, trying to allocate feed to, higher and lower producing cows, and, farmers have done different versions of that. How do you do that? How do you identify those animals? You just do that through herd testing, or and then what does the diet look like? Is it just maize, palm kernel, or is there anything else, or what do you do?
We probably should do it through herd testing, but we just do it at the start of the season. We just pick the cows which we think are producing better, and then just put them in a herd. Yeah. And yeah, it's just a maize and PK blend throughout the year. And I have this year bought some molasses, which I've added to the diet. It was just a little bit of a hard spring, just a cold spring. Cows are a little bit short of energy maybe, so I just sort of put that in there. Yeah. And yeah, they certainly enjoy it, that's for sure.
Yeah. So that feed mix, so molasses is blanket then to all animals, to both herds?
No, just my herd, so just the high producing herd. And I feed them on a feed pad. So every day they come onto a feed pad, which I just feed out with a mixer wagon. So at the moment I'm doing about 2 kilos of maize and about 1.5 kilos of PK per animal. And well, that's for that 175. And yeah, they come onto the feed pad. But the thing is, the feed pad's not close to the milking shed. So what I did was I split the farm in half, and I take one half of the farm, Dad takes the other half, and there's sort of like a maize or 5 hectare maize block in the middle, which sort of, it works. And yeah, so the feed pad is sort of ideally or centrally located on my half of the farm. So that's why we've sort of done it that way.
Yes, and it works okay.
Yes, it seems to be working all right. So
yeah. No, that's cool. Before we sort of get into how the season's gone, and some, Anne-Marie did mention that you're quite active on social media, and you post videos and do all sorts of. What got you into that? And is there scope for other farmers to be doing a bit of the same sort of thing? Do you think?
Yeah, it's I don't know. I got into it about a year ago now, and I try and post 2 videos a week on YouTube to try and, keep subscribers and content rolling. But I've seen other dairy farmers around the world doing it on YouTube and found some of it quite interesting. But nobody was really that big into it here in New Zealand, and I thought there was sort of maybe a bit of a market as, I think we got one of the best farming systems in the world, having our cows outside the whole year. And limited infrastructure compared to what they have. So I wanted to sort of, give it a go. I had nothing to lose, so I bought a camera and started filming. There's definitely probably scope. It's a real hard game to get into. I'm only really just scratching the surface at the moment. And it's a lot of work for, sort of minimal output at the moment, but hopefully that changes maybe in the future.
Yeah. And what's the general reaction to it? Positive, like because farmers, I'm sure, will be thinking about, or already are, or thinking about doing it. Is it positive?
It's real cool. Like, I guess for YouTube, most of my market, or 45% of my viewers, come from the UK and Ireland, which is so it's almost half. But they love it. Like, I get a lot of farmers commenting on the once a day system, and I've had a lot recently from the South America that are quite interested in it too, mainly around sort of labor issues over there and running a sort of low cost system. But it's cool, like, hearing from just so many people that like them. Obviously some people don't, but it's very far and few between with them. But it's cool hearing from people over in the UK. I probably get messages from them most, but of parents who say their kids love watching me, and I get a real kick out of it. So it's pretty cool. I don't know. It's pretty different, but quite cool.
You got global reach. Just a farmer just out of Te Awamuru's got global reach. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I had somebody from Jamaica message me or comment the other day, and countries from like Turkey and Morocco, and I'm just like, oh, this is crazy. Like, yeah, just the average dairy farmer. And I guess what sort of puts me up there, maybe as someone different from other platforms on YouTube, is that I do milk once a day and have jerseys, because there's not a lot of jerseys on YouTube. So I don't know, people like it. People like them, I suppose.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Before we move on, any advice you'd give to farmers who are thinking about doing a bit of this? Because some are, but some might be going, oh, it looks kind of cool, and be quite keen to share my story. Any advice?
I guess at the end of the day, just give it a go. Yeah, give it a go. You pick it up real quick. It's it's a real hard. Like I said, it's a real hard game. But you never know unless you try, eh? So yeah,
have a will.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, we're getting a couple of comments coming through at the moment, and they seem to love your videos and pretty impressed with what you're doing. So that's always good to know.
Yeah, good to hear.
Good to hear. Yeah, exactly. Hey, just getting on to how the season's gone. So, I guess it's quite varied around the country, as it always is. But how's the spring gone for you so far?
Yep, no, spring. It's been sort of a challenge. It has been a bit wet and cold compared to, say, the last 3 years. But speaking to one of my cousins who live next door, it's not as bad as it used to be. Like, it's still pretty mild compared to what it used to be sort of 20, 30 years ago. But in saying that, it has been a challenge for me. Just sort of, I was having a few problems with cows going down, which usually doesn't happen. So that's why I sort of bought in that molasses as well. But I am 5% up at the moment for the year and 4% up for the month. So things are looking pretty rosy. There is a bit of grass around now, which sort of helps. And just, I don't know, being so wet at the moment, hopefully it's going to sort of reduce maybe our drought whenever that comes, I suppose. Hope, just topping the water tables up, and hopefully we get a reduced drought this year, which would be nice since the payout is looking pretty rosy too.
Yeah. Hopefully the stars align. So you sort of mentioned that the feeds come away, and and you've sent me through a few photos. So I might put one or two of these up just because it helps for people to see what things are looking like at the moment. So people just bear with me for just a moment. So you've sent me through a photo of the pre and post grazing there at the moment. So hopefully people can see that. I'll just make that a little bigger. So feed wise, it looks like your pre-grazing there's very much at the top end, or that difference between the pre and post looks like it's very much at the top end. What is the situation? Have you got silage out? Looking at that photo, it looks like you might have, but
so I don't plate meter, and I don't have a feed wedge or anything like that. I just I don't do it. I sort of go by the eye. But I have just dropped out. I think I've taken 3 paddocks out for silage. Dad's taken 3 out as well. So we're just looking at build feed for summer, really, just for when it gets dry. And if not use it this summer, we'll carry it through to spring next year, because before, I suppose, balance date, we can get in a bit of a pinch. So just looking to build feed for the future, really.
Yeah. So what's your trigger then around that dropping paddocks out? So you don't plate, and that's not uncommon at all. Lots of farmers don't do that, and they they go by kind of eye and experience. What's your trigger point for starting to drop those paddocks out? Are you kind of just making an assessment of what's in front, or are you just starting to look at what cows are leaving and or a bit of a mix of both? What's your play?
Pretty much just once the cows start leaving a bit, I can sort of, or I can see that the paddocks are sort of getting away from me, just getting a little bit too long. I will just drop them out straight away and lock them up, I guess, until we can get some fine weather. But that's all I do. So it's not too scientific, but yeah.
And how long are you typically closing them for? How long are they shut before you harvest?
I'll probably drop them out for about maybe 2 rotations. So yeah, about that 40 to 50 days maybe.
Okay. Yep. So you're getting quite a lot of, so, the theoretical optimum sort of 35, 40. So you're going a little bit beyond that. So you're probably picking up a little bit more bulk out of doing that.
Yeah, I'm sort of, I guess quantity rather than quality, just to get us through the summer. I don't know. It could go each way, whether you want quality or quantity. But yeah, I suppose I'm going for quantity.
Yeah. Yep. No, that's cool. One of the other things I suppose is around the animal health side of things, mastitis, animal health in general, but mastitis. How's that gone for the season?
Yeah, so this year, or I should say, at the end of last year, I really wanted to try dry cow. I just had too many cows, one of the biggest things in the past has been our somatic sow count, and it's just been typically way too high or higher than where I want it to be. So I really wanted to try dry cow last year. Dad hasn't believed in it, or not that he doesn't believe in it, he just didn't want to spend the money on it in the past. So I've convinced him last year that I wanted to try, and he let me do 60 cows. So I had a meeting with the vets, and I think I did all the cows that were over 200 or 250 on our last herd test. And yeah, it's absolutely paid dividends this year. Like, our cell count is so much lower than where it has been in the past. I mean, at the moment, or I think our milk test came back from last night, it's down at about 80, which is unheard of for us. But I also did change to TDEX. I see you bringing up the graph now. Yep. So a different teat spray in, when was it? August. So whether that's made a difference or it's just the combination of the two, I don't know. But we've just had minimal cases of mastitis since changing. So yeah, real happy with where it's sitting, and hopefully it can continue. I really want to get under that 150 for the season, but yeah, I'm not sure. Being once a day, they're usually a little bit higher, but I don't know. Time will tell, I guess.
That's an incredible story. That because essentially for viewers, if they can't see it really clearly, but that top green line is your sorry, that's 2 years ago, isn't it? So it's the black line, or the very darkest color line was last season, and obviously the blue one this season. So significantly lower than the last couple of years with that change in practice.
Yeah, I think this is the first time we've ever dropped from September to October, I think. So things are looking pretty rosy, but hopefully going forward, I can bring that sort of threshold down from that 200 at the last test to maybe do it to 100 this year. And Dad's theory was he'll just cull to sort of get there, which he has in the past. Like, he's done all right. Maybe, when was it? About 4 or 5 seasons ago, he did all right. But I just want to get there quicker, and I think sort of dry cow is the way to do it. So, it has. He's convinced on it now, so it's good. It's good to sort of change his mind on things.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, nothing by demonstrating through doing, is it? You can actually see the results in this case, which is and quite possibly what you're seeing there is a combination of factors, isn't it? Perhaps might not be one action in itself that would explain that full drop, but the 2 or 3 things that you've done, combination of the culling and the maybe a different teat treatment, dry cow therapy, and teat sprays, combination.
I think too, probably because our empty rates was quite low last year, I had the ability to cull harder too with the high somatic cell count cows, which I think as a combination, it probably all comes together, and that's probably why the reason it has dropped. But so it's a bit hard to put it down to any one thing, but I definitely think as a combination, it's all worked pretty well.
Yep, cool. So I'll just pause here for a minute because there are a couple of questions, and I'll do them in the order of just what we're talking about here at the moment. So one is about whether you're herd testing to determine those which cows get dry cowed. Is that the driver, or how did you go about that?
Yeah, it was. So on we do 3 herd tests a year. So we actually dropped out sort of our herd tests through peak. We just didn't think we need it, because generally the only thing we really get out of our herd test is the somatic cell count. So at the last one I just did, that's what I determined it on. Sorry, yeah.
So you just went over 250? Is that
I would have liked to have gone lower, but it just meant more cows and more money, and I wasn't allowed to. So
yeah, small
hopefully
steps.
this year I will be.
Yeah, small steps. Yeah. The other question that's come up is cow losses, so deaths through calving. Obviously, every farmer gets a few. What have you experienced this year? Anything out of the ordinary there, or has it gone?
To be honest, this is the first year I've lost the cow. So I lost 2 cows, and I think it was either milk fever or maybe a little bit of bloat. And yeah, that's real unusual for us. Usually our deaths through calving are nil. So
yeah,
a little bit of a shame. It was a couple of good ones too, which is always the case, isn't it? But
yeah. They're out of your herd, you mean? Out of the high producing herd.
Hey, I should point too that we also drench throughout the year. So we drench every morning before we milk them, which our cows generally are pretty well on the mineral side of things. Yeah.
So you're not reliant on dosatrons or other methods of getting minerals in.
No, we're not. So we know that all the cows are getting the same amount, which is the benefits of that.
Yeah,
that style, I guess, or that system.
Yeah. Now, spot on. So if you were to, just before we move on to kind of what's looming ahead, you said you're up 5%, harder season. What would you put that down to then? Just more feed in the system?
That's I don't know. I think maybe just a little bit more grass this year, or the cows just seem to be milking better. I did start feeding maize and PK about a month earlier than I did last year, and I think the cows have just maybe put on condition a little bit faster. They've also peaked a little bit earlier, and they're holding at the moment too, which I'm quite surprised about. They're not really dropping. I'd probably put it down to that. Yeah, possibly better cows just coming through too, so the genetic side of thing.
Yeah, you're right. And what are they holding at the moment?
So we sort of peak near 1.5, and they're holding at the moment at 1.4. So nothing outrageous, but
Actually, just on that, I should actually give our viewers a chance to see what sort of cows you are milking, because we haven't actually covered that. But there's a good sort of probably snapshot of the type of animal that you're. And this was fairly recent, was it, Andy? This photo?
Yeah, it'd be within a week probably. But we just run straight jerseys. We like the jerseys, and they're probably about a 400 kilo live weight animal.
Yeah, and so that 1.5 is actually a pretty good level of milk production for this time of the year from that type of cow. Yeah,
once a day too. I have heard of Jersey farmers getting over 2 twice a day, but I'd like to lift it in the future. I think we could probably get 1.6, maybe with breeding, and I don't know, probably a little way off that, but hopefully.
Yep. Cool. Okay. Well, look, we'll sort of change tack a little bit. That's kind of what's happened behind us and up to date. In terms of moving forward and that planning for the summer, you mentioned in the intro you do a little bit around cropping. So is that where you're at with that in that space at the moment?
Yep. So almost, I think we've just got a hectare left of chicory to drill, and then we're all set. But so this year we have planted 5.8 hectares of maize. That's in at the moment. And this morning I posted a video on my Instagram, but it has just popped out of the ground. So it's germinated, which is awesome. We usually grow about 5 hectares, but this year, I don't know, just a little bit more. Plus I've also bought another hectare from my neighbour who's a maize grower. So just on a little bit more maize for next year. Maybe feed a little bit to the lower producers to sort of put weight on them before mating as well. I'm not sure. It just gives us a few more options. And also we do that 4 hectares of chicory for the lower producing herd. So most of that's in the ground, and that's also started to germinate too. So things are looking pretty rosy. Hopefully we'll feed that out in say mid-December. It'd be mid to late December.
Yep. And then what's your strategy with how you're feeding that? So we know it goes to the low producing, and you kick it off in mid-December. How does it sort of fit the feeding regime, the rotation? How does that work?
we feed it as we break feed it obviously, but we do a 22 day round on that and just stay on that, and we get probably 4 to 5 or 4 to 6 grays out of that through the summer. So and then it just goes back into either a perennial or an annual, and we sort of we rotate the paddocks maybe we'll do 2 years of chicory and then put a perennial in, and then change paddocks. So
so when you, and one of the things around chicory is that it's notoriously, particularly in dry years, growing really well when you need to spray it out. What's your kind of cut off for the end of chicory and getting it back into new grass? When do you have a kind of a deadline for saying, right, we're going to spray this stuff out?
Sort of depending on what the weather does, but sort of at the start of April or mid-April, we sort of try and get the grass in. But like you said, it's you go through the drought, it starts dying off, and then it comes away again, and you're like, I need to get grass in now. So it's, But we for our system, it suits us. We moved away from doing pit silage, and to have a standing crop of chicory sort of suits that herd on that high country. So it's pretty just suits us.
It works. Yeah, for sure. Yep. And you've dabbled with we know a bit about dropping paddocks out for silage, but you've dabbled in deferred grazing. Now this is a kind of how do I describe this? It's almost like it's reinventing itself a little bit.
Pretty much.
Coming back around.
So last year I was quite intrigued by it. Just because I've got paddocks that needed reseeding, and I had reseeded them with the drill or undersowed them, and they just hadn't turned out quite the way I'd wanted to. So I dropped a couple of paddocks out. I actually did 5 paddocks, which was probably a bit more than I should have. And I dropped them out in October and then started grazing them at the start of January. So once they'd gone to seed, I probably did a few things wrong with it. I probably put nitrogen on them, and I shouldn't have. I should have let them grow by themselves, because the ryegrass sort of outgrew the clover a bit, but they did work. I grazed 3 paddocks off with the cows. I pre-topped it before they went in, and then I bailed the other 2 just because there was sort of weather threatening, and I didn't want all the seed head to sort of rot away. But it's a hard one. I think I got it a bit wrong, and it went real stalky. And the cows did drop in production quite a bit, but they did come away like real good. The seed head was unreal. I think it estimated, I had Steve from Dairy NZ out, and he estimated there's probably a 70 to 80 kilo seed drop in those paddocks. So they reseeded themselves pretty awesome, really.
Yeah. But you're not doing it again.
Yeah. Well, I guess I need to make my mind up, because I need to do it now. But no, probably not this year. I've just got too many paddocks that they were cropping ground ages ago, and they need to be undersown. So I've just got too much ground this year to do it. So probably not this year. It's a good theory and a good method, and potentially look at it in the future again. But I want to target like 105 solids this year. So I just don't think I want to do that. Yeah, it's a hard one.
Yeah. I guess you get some longer term benefits out of the deferred grazing as well. So it's trying to weigh up that little bit of short term loss, if there is one, around the deferred grazing, to get that to get that reseeding effect and long term gain.
Yeah, definitely. And the cows did drop going onto it, as I would expect, but it's a bit hard to know how much, because they were going to drop anyway going into the sort of dry period we had last year. So it is hard to sort of guess, but we probably dropped a little bit more than, I don't know, we would have, I guess.
Yep. It's always a little bit hard to know, but interesting that you're going to give it another go. So hey, look, not all is lost.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Hey, just to keep things rolling, I guess the last kind of topic, if you like, and it's pretty pertinent at the moment, is that no doubt you're in the middle of mating. So how's that progressed to date?
Mating, that's one of the big things I'm interested in on farm, is sort of the breeding side of things. And I want to shorten our calving period up. I want to get all my cows calving within 6 weeks. It does push, well, we get a bit of a feed deficit because they're calving so quick, but I just want them all calving within that 6 weeks. So this year I was really pushing to get as many, I guess, cows submitted in that first 3 weeks. Hence why I was feeding them a little bit earlier with maize and stuff. And yeah, I didn't quite get the 90%. So yesterday was our 3 week of AI, and I hit 87%. So
good result.
I did hit 90 this morning, but
you're a day late. You got a day late.
Yeah, a day late, but yeah, So I think it's going to go all right. Last year, my 3 week in calf rate was 53%, so I'm looking to increase that quite a bit, and hopefully this year I will. I'd like to get about 60%.
Yeah.
And drop our empty rate, but yeah.
So with that submission rate, any intervention in that, or
no? It's all natural.
Natural, yeah.
Yeah, it's all natural mating. If the cows can't get in calf, we are pretty harsh on them. We don't carry over anything. So, they get one shot and that's it. And I guess I'm trying to breed for fertility. So I just don't believe in carrying cows over. And, they just get their one chance. So it's a bit harsh, but I think it's just the way I've got to go for breeding high fertility cows. Yeah.
Yeah. So you selecting your AB on high fertility bulls, or what are you selecting on then?
Yeah, I use a lot of bulls. I use LIC, CRV, and this year I've used 2 sort of offshore genetic, or 3 bulls with them, but 2 companies in offshore genetics. I've gone polled with those offshore ones too. Typically I just go by the look of the bull. If it's sort of got good figures, I'll just go with them. So I don't look too much into sort of that fertility thing. Apart from the offshore stuff, it's got to be good fertility. But yeah, I don't go with the once a day stuff either. It's just, if I like the look of the bull, and it's got good figures, I'll just put it in the cows.
Yeah, yep. And you're dabbling in sex semen as well, which is
So this year we generally, because we try and take 25% replacements through, which is quite high, but I will look to drop it in the future once I get the herd to where I think it should be. But we usually have trouble getting our replacements, so I wanted to try a little bit of sex semen this year to try and get a few more heifer calves. Also, because it sort of gives us the option too. I only want to take the calves or heifer calves in the first 3 weeks of calving, just for that fertility thing, and just give us option if we do sort of get there and we get extras, we can potentially sell them, or something like that. So I've tried 30 straws this year, and I worked out that we generally have a 47% heifer to bull ratio, or we did this year. So they say 80% for sex semen, although it has got a little bit of a less hold rate. But I want to give it a go. It's just putting, I guess, cows that I like, or the better cows, just trying to get heifer calves out of them. So it's something I'm looking for, and hopefully it works. I did have two that I put them in that return this morning. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I don't want to go the whole hog sex semen, but I think a little bit's definitely got its place.
Yeah. So how did you practically integrate that? Because it's obviously fresh, and so that creates some challenges. And know, when you can use them into what animals? Like how did you make it work in practice?
So what did I do? I did 4 straws a day for the first 4 days, and then 3 straws for about 4 or 5 days. In total, it was 31 straws. And we AIs, we milk them. So it takes 2 of us in the mornings. Dad's my AI technician, which is pretty handy. So as soon as we put the cups on the other side, he was come in and AI them. There's no drafting or anything like that. But I was in a bit of a predicament, I guess. I wasn't sure whether to put them across like the younger cows with the sort of higher figures, or the newer genetics, or put them across the cows, which were, I guess, you knew they were doing well, the older sort of cows. But I sort of did half and half this year, or maybe a little bit more towards the younger ones with the figures. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how it turns out, and how many how many of those straws actually hold and what the heifer to bull ratio will be. So I don't know. It's something I wanted to give a go anyway, and I'll probably do it next year maybe, because the sex semen it definitely is more expensive. So it's got to the figures have got to stack up.
Yeah. So do you try to offset? I see we've got a question here about do you breed Jersey Hereford or just full jerseys? Do you try and offset some of that cost with any cheaper semen, or how does the rest of the strategy play out?
So everything gets mated to Jersey, and then we follow up with Jersey bulls too. We don't go into beef just because we want easy calvings. Our cows probably are a little bit smaller frame than maybe some other people's, and I think for 320 cows that we calved, or near enough, I think we pulled maybe 2 or 3 calves, and we had the vet out 3 times for assisted calving. So that's why we want to keep it, and that's the reason I don't want to go to beef. But for the cows that we're potentially going to cull this year, I sort of have used older frozen stuff that's in the bank. So I still want to get them in calf, but I'm not going to use the better genetics. Potentially, I know that they're going to go to the work, so I've just used stuff that I need to sort of get rid of, if that makes sense.
Yeah, try and manage it, or that's a sunk cost if you've got it in the bank already. So just use it.
Exactly. And if they do have a calf and we are running short, or we need to keep those cows, then at least they're you know what I mean.
Yep. And is this kind of working towards, there's a kind of an industry push, if you like, or pull, whichever way you sort of think of it, towards trying to, reduce the number of calf wastage, i.e. bobby calves, that sort of things in the system. Is this part of a strategy towards that, or?
Yeah, I think so. It's definitely. I don't like putting calves on the truck. I quite like my calves, but it's I guess it's one of the sore points in the industry at the moment. And being a Jersey dairy farmer, I guess it's even harder. Because I don't want to put beef across them. So I think sex semen, if I can get more heifer calves, then it's potentially another option to sell calves that way. I do try and sell bull calves to calf rearers, but some years you can sell a lot, and then other years you can't. It's just it's up to them. So
so for sure.
At the end of the day, yes.
Yeah. And there's still a market for those Jersey bulls, obviously, for what their purpose is. They have quite a unique, purpose, particularly across heifers and smaller framed animals.
Yep, definitely.
So just moving through the last part of your mating plan. So then kick out of AB into bulls. How many weeks with bulls, and when does that kick in?
We're going to do about 4 to 5 weeks with the bulls. So we'll do 4 weeks of AI. And then we'll put the bulls out for 4 to probably 5 weeks, just to try and clean up everything. Because if I can get as much as possible in calf, then at least I've got options to sell cows as well. Generally, we just send them to the works, but if I can sell good cows that are in calf, I mean, there's got to be a market for them as well. So and we just rotate a bull a day with each herd. We just run 4 bulls with the heifers. And then once those bulls, or we pull them out, they come home, and we've got 4 bulls here. So we just do 2 with each herd that we rotate one in a day, and they go to the works and the 4 come back. So we keep those bulls for 2 seasons. Hope that makes sense.
So yearling bulls for your heifers, year 1, hold them on farm, and then use them to do your bull mating for your dairy herd at home.
That's the one.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Quick final question here that's popped up around. You mentioned polled bulls. Have you had any polled calves this year?
Not yet. This is the first year I'm trying polled bulls, but I think, like the A2 thing, it's not a fad, but I think everyone's going to get there eventually, because you look at like most of the bulls in the catalogues now, they are A2. So I think probably the next thing that's going to get everyone's attention is the sort of polled side of things. So I don't know, maybe I was thinking if I could breed maybe polled calves, I might be able to get some contract matings out of it. I think I might be a little bit ambitious, but I don't know. It's just something I was willing to try as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I guess that's the luxury of the industry, isn't it? Is that you can have a bit of a dabble at some of these things and see how they play out. Yeah.
And overseas they have a lot of polled genetics, so it's also it'll be good to sort of get to that stage where everything's polled, because then it's just another job. Well, less dehorning calves. I mean, it's not massive expense, but it's just another job that we don't have to do.
Yep, for sure. And hey, look, the spotlight's always on kind of, care for animals and that sort of thing. So if it's just one less interaction and one less intervention, then that's got to be a good thing.
Oh, definitely. I put a video up of the girls. They came in dehorn the calves a while back, and I think it did real well. It got over 200,000 views.
Wow.
But it amazed me the amount of people that thought it was cruel, and I was like, well, I'm putting my calves. They're going to sleep. They're getting local, so I don't think it's cruel. But yeah, there's definitely perception out there. But
yeah.
Possibly some of those people might think it was cruel no matter what I did. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah, so some things, it doesn't matter what you display in the video. I guess people have their own perceptions and their own views.
Definitely.
Yeah. Hey, look, we're pretty much run for time, Andy. So thanks for sharing a bit of your story. It's I know it's a bit of a whirlwind tour through what's happened so far and how things are framing up for the rest of the season. But look, it sounds like you're on track to have a pretty good year, and hopefully the payout upside is looking pretty positive too. So it'll keep the smiles on faces of many farmers, hopefully. So thanks for sharing your time. I'll hand back over to Anne-Marie and let her make a few closing sort of comments, and we'll leave it at that. Thanks, Andy.
No, awesome. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I've got no closing comments, really. You guys have had such an informative around the kitchen table chat. It's been great eavesdropping on you, actually. Thank you, Wade and Andrew. We really appreciate your time and the sharing of your knowledge and learnings as well. Thank you also once again to our Smash sponsors, Dairy NZ, FMG, Balance, Pioneer, and Rabobank. Now, make sure you follow our Facebook page for upcoming events, and also you can register at our website, smallerherds.co.nz. Now, while you're there online, make sure you follow Andrew on Instagram or YouTube. Just search Once a Day Farmer and he will pop up. Our next field day in person, fingers crossed, is at Jamie and Kate Holtane's farm at Horsham Downs near Hamilton. Now, we're going to find out more about how they've simplified their system. It was going to be next week. It's been delayed, as I mentioned, to November the 16th. And on November the 16th, we're going to find out more about how Jamie and Kate introduced Once a Day last season, and they've been really impressed by the results. Matamata farmer Cam Halton is going to join us. He's been Once a Day for 5 years. So we'll hear from them regarding the transition, the benefits and the challenges. And also we'll hear from Jamie and Kate about their successful breeding season last year. They won Annex's top reproductive performance award with an 87% 6-week in-calf rate and a 9% empty rate after just a 7-week mating period. So Katrina Roberts from Annexa is going to join us on the day to speak about making your mating period short, sweet, and successful. It's going to be a fantastic day full of learnings. So make sure you register on our website, smallerherds.co.nz. There will, of course, also be one of our infamous lunches. I'm Anne-Marie Case-Miller. Thanks for joining us around the Smash kitchen table today. We'll see you next time. Ka kite anō.